Hello and welcome back. In the last story time, Michael and the old man Kensuke became closer than they'd ever been as they went out fishing on the open seas. As they were out there, Kensuke revealed the tragic life story that had led to him being stranded on the desert island. Where we left off, it seemed like Michael and Kensuke were closer than they would ever become. He let me take the oar and showed me how to row his way, standing up, feet planted well apart. It wasn't as easy as he made it look. Clearly, he trusted me to get us back, for he sat in the bow of the outrigger to rest, and fell asleep almost at once. His mouth was open, his face sunken. He always looked even older when he slept, and as I watched him, I tried to picture his face as it must have been when he first came to the island all those many years ago, over 40 years. I owed him so much. He'd saved my life twice, fed me, befriended me. He was right. We were happy, and I was his family. But I had another family too. I thought of the last time that I'd been out in a boat, of my mother and my father, and how they must be grieving for me every day and every night. By now, they must surely believe that I was drowned, that there was no chance I could be alive. But I wasn't drowned. I was alive. Somehow, I had to let them know it. As I struggled to bring the outrigger back to the island that afternoon, I was filled with a sudden, powerful longing to see them again, to be with them. I could steal the boat, I thought. I could row away. I could light a fire again. But I knew, even as I thought it, that I could not do it. How could I ever leave Kensuke now, after all that he'd done for me? How could I betray his trust? I tried to put the whole idea out of my mind, and I really believe I would have, too. But the very next morning, I found the plastic Coke bottle washed up on the beach. And after that, the idea of escape came back and haunted me day and night, and would not leave me be. For some days, I left the Coke bottle buried under the sand while I wrestled with my conscience, or, rather, justified what I wanted to do. It wouldn't really be a betrayal, not as such, I told myself. Even if the bottle was found, no one would know where to come to. They'd just know I was alive. I made up my mind I would do it, and do it as soon as I could. Kensuke had gone off octopus fishing. I'd stayed behind to finish a shell painting, or so I'd told him. I found an old sheet at the bottom of one of his chests and tore away a small corner of it. Then I knelt down at the table, stretched it out, and painted my message on it in octopus ink. To the Peggy Sue, Fareham, England. Dear Mum and Dad, I am alive. I am well. I live on an island. I do not know where. Come and find me. Love, Michael. I waited until it was dry, and then I rolled it up, dug my Coke bottle out of the sand, slipped in my message, and screwed the bottle up tight. I made quite sure that Kensuke was still intent on his fishing, and set off. I ran the entire length of the island, keeping always to the forest so that there was no chance Kensuke could see where I was going, or what I was up to. The gibbons howled their accusations at me all the way, the entire forest cackling and screeching its condemnation. I just hoped Stella wouldn't bark back at them, wouldn't betray where I was. Fortunately, she didn't. At last, I reached the rocks under Watch Hill. I leaped from rock to rock until I was standing right at the very end of the island, the waves washing over my feet. I looked around me. Stella was the only witness. I hurled the bottle as far out to sea as I possibly could. Then I stood and watched as it bobbed away and out to sea. It was on its way. I didn't touch my fish soup that night. Kensuke thought I was ill. I could hardly talk to him. I couldn't look him in the eye. I lay all night in deep torment, racked by my guilt, yet, at the same time, still hoping against hope that my bottle would be picked up. Kensuke and I were at our painting the next afternoon when Stella came padding into the cave. She had the Coke bottle in her mouth. She dropped it and looked up at me, panting and pleased with herself. Kensuke laughed and reached down to pick it up. I think he was about to hand it to me when he noticed there was something inside it. By the way he looked at me, I was quite sure that he knew at once what it was. That's the end of our story time this week. Tune in next time to hear Chapter 9, which is called The Night of the Turtles, and this is where we find out what happens between Michael and Kensuke. Catch you next time.